Live. Now for the awkward wait for everyone to come online. In the meantime, I'll see if I can find my own video so I can put it up on the computer as well and read your comments. This is where I find it funny with these live videos where people come in and watch stuff later on and then have to wait the 5 or so minutes for things to actually start. You called dibs on this build. Who was that said that? You can't, it's mine. Hey, how you doing, guys? Now you come in. Mr. Pink, how you doing, Mr. Pink? All the people are coming in here. Wyatt Freeland, I'm doing good, thanks, man. It's a Monday here, and just enjoying the serenity. Maybe serenity, is that a good way to put it? Someone asked the question, is this going to be a full build? Yeah, it'll be a full build. I've got most of the electronics already prepped, so it should be a fair bit quicker. But yeah, it'll be a full build. How do I like the KISS V2? I really like it. So I'm swapping out pretty much all my builds to the KISS V2 and the KISS 32 amps. It's a good enough improvement for me to warrant to go all the way over there. We shall wait a little bit longer, and then we'll start. Out of curiosity, what's your favorite animal? I've never really thought of that. I'm a massive dog lover, so dogs. I don't know. I always loved having dogs in the family. I haven't had a dog for a long time. Well, never had my own dog, just family dogs when I was younger. So I love dogs, but if I had to choose a wild animal, it'd have to be an eagle. Jealous of what they can do, so yeah. I think there's enough of you guys in here, so we will get started. So today I'm going to do a build of Reverb, so I needed to swap over a frame anyway, and this is the first like production kit that like this from the start that I've built. I've built plenty of these before, but they haven't been put up in the kit, so this is my chance to experience what you guys are experiencing, and just see if there's any if there's any feedback that I can give the guys in the packaging. I think we've pretty much got it sorted, but I figured I may as well do it with you guys online. So yeah, essentially got the whole kit there, the regular kit. I got the basic steel hardware kit. I will be swapping this out for, I've got some alloy bolts here and stuff because I'm still testing the alloy setup, so that I will be changing around to that, of course, and going to be putting the basic PDB in. I've got the where is it? I've got the full PDB, but it won't be going in this build. And I'm just going to be using my basic stuff. So what I have on hand is a Runcam Eagle X4R, and the X4R, what I have done is I've decased it and I have depinned it and then hardwired some silicon wires to it. I don't know if you can see. There we go. I've even, on this one, because this went into a very thin build, I even removed the connector on the side for telemetry, and I've hardwired the telemetry wire on there. And the wires that I use, they're like, I don't know, 30 gauge wire. When you buy a Immersion RC Tramp, you get a second pigtail wire that goes along with it, and I just use that wire. That wire is tiny and absolutely perfect. And the only other thing I did was, because I don't need the extra length, you'll see I actually put the UFL connectors for the wires facing downwards, and then did a U-turn and put them straight back up again. So shortens up the wire a little bit and put some strain relief away from it. And then finally just put some heat shrink over it. So now you've got a stupidly thin and reasonably small. It's not terribly small, but you don't need something tiny in the quad. Now, why do I use an X4R? I've tried so many of these other receivers from FR Sky, and this is the only one. This is the only one that I still trust. I'm trying to work with FR Sky on doing some more receivers, but this is the only one that I still trust. And if it works, especially in these freestyle frames where you don't need something microscopic. Now, if you're running a racer or something like that that has very, very minimalistic room, that may not work for you. But for me, because I do mostly freestyle, that works perfectly fine for me. Old school, UFL, no IPEX, standard, nice thick antennas, quarter wave length, just works really well, lightweight, small enough for what I need to do. No dramas. And I bought about 15 of these in the early days, and I just stick with them. Why not the XSR? Because I've tried the XSR, and I don't feel that the XSR is as good as the X4R in that regard. I've got X4Rs, so unless I find something that works better, why change? So this is the big thing. This whole thing has been coming up a lot. Oh, we need to change. Why change? Why change for the sake of change? This works better than anything else I've got and is more consistent. So why would I change? Plus, don't have to solder on antennas. It's UFL, not IPEX crap, lots of stuff. RXSR. Don't like the IPEX, don't like the small diameter wire, don't like the fifth wave antenna. Works. So anyway, that's what I use. People keep on asking me. I still use the X4R because it fucking works. And with a little mod like that, I don't break receivers, I don't hurt receivers, I don't kill antennas anymore. These things last ages. What I will be using for flight controller, KISS FC V2, and I think I've already shown you that, the Eagle, running the Eagle because that's what I've got. I'm generally running CMOS cameras these days, simply because I think they just shittle over the CCD stuff. The Eagle has dramas, but I'm working with RunCam on some stuff, and I'm also testing out some other cameras. Hopefully in the next week or two I can tell you what my new favorite camera is. ESCs, so I've got my 4 ESCs already done. These are off an older prototype frame. So Rotorite Hype Train motors, of course, and the KISS 32 ESC. Of course, everything is wired. I've got the correct length wire on there, and I've got signal ground, and telemetry wires all put on there, color coded, so they're the right length. So that'll save some time, and you guys don't have to worry so much about waiting for me to solder all that sort of stuff up. The only modification that I make to these ESCs, and this is what I started doing a little while back, and it seems to be working, is people say, oh, you get prop strikes on ESCs. So I started taking note of what it is that you are getting, what's getting damaged in a prop strike. I never damage FETs. The only things I would ever damage is small stuff, like, for example, these small caps on stuff. So what I did was I taped off this area and taped off that area, and I actually put some epoxy in there, so it sort of settled in amongst those caps, just those caps, not anything else, just those caps. And now I've had multiple prop strikes on this on these ESCs, and nothing breaks off. So the epoxy basically makes all those tiny little caps one big solid mass, and it doesn't break off. So for me, it works. If you want to try it and something goes wrong, then that's your choice. But for me, that works really well. And then once I've done that, all I do is I put some heat shrink over the top of it. Yeah, no more prop strikes, and I don't really have to worry about guarding the ESCs and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't mean that they're invincible, but I don't have a problem with it anymore. So yeah, cut the motor wire to length, solder it to the ESCs, got the power and signal wires to the right length. I epoxy around the caps and just the caps, and then I put some heat shrink around it, and then that's ready to go. And then I've got another 3 just like that. In terms of VTX, so I've got my trusty tramp here with the spiral net, new little stubby one, and this has got the new spiral net's got like an ultrasonically welded cap on it, so the caps don't come off anymore, yeah, I don't break antennas anymore. So yeah, so lots of stuff. Plus I also have the little NFC tag on here. I don't run OSD. I've never been a fan of OSD, and I've tried lots of stuff, and I've tried the Lewis script. I prefer to use the wand in changing channel purely because you can change channel, band, power, anything you want, and you don't need to plug in the quad. So I can turn up to a busy fly-in and set my channel up without annoying anyone. And I don't care if you're on 2 milliwatts or whatever, you can still annoy someone by plugging in. And that's probably the main reason why I like to use that, the fact that I can change channel, do whatever I want, and I don't need to power up. So that's why I use the one. So lots of stuff, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, apart from the alloy hardware, everything's going to be a standard build. And I've got a one of the Brain 3D 30-degree mounts, which I'm going to chuck on there. And I probably won't get into it during this build, but what I also like to do is dry drone these guys. This is a new formulation. It's like a water-based formulation, and it dries like pretty much straight away. Really good stuff. So for a little bit of protection, I'm not looking at making this thing waterproof so it can go underwater, but this will allow me to fly in rain, all that sort of stuff, just a bit of extra protection. So all that sort of stuff. So I think we should get into it. What I will do is I will face this down a little bit so you can see my work area, and we will go from there. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on questions and all that sort of stuff, but I'm going to be busy. Building all sort of stuff. No, it's not going to be the PDB with the OSD. This is just going to be the stock standard PDB that you can get right now. The OSD PDB is sitting over here on the side, so not much point in me talking about that because it's not for sale anyway. So okay, so let's get started in here and see what we've got. And also the tools that I've got what, a 2.5, a 2 mil, and a 1.5 hex driver. Apologies guys, these are shitty tools. My good tools are not handy at the moment. They're somewhere else, so that's what's going to be used. So don't get stuck into me for using crappy tools. And also got the usual things like scissors, side cutters, and pliers, and lots of stuff. And I'll probably go and get some tweezers as well. So let's get all this stuff together. First thing I'm going to do is, you got these 2 antennas. You got 2 of these antennas for really long length if you want long length. For general flying, what I generally find is if I go somewhere in the middle, wow, that wasn't even close. Let's even that up so I can get my OCD happy. Okay, now we got 2. Just cut it in the middle, measure it a little bit better than me, and that's generally long enough. It doesn't need to stick out for ages, it just needs to clear everything. So of course in the kit you get these little diamond files onto stuff, and these days the sharpness of the cut on the edge there is actually it's really nice. It's not too sharp, so I don't even bother finishing frames anymore. I used to do it purely so that things like tape and battery straps would get cut if you didn't do it, and it was nice. And like I don't care anymore. It's close enough. I mean, what I'm doing is I'm running into brick walls, lots of stuff every time I go and fly. So I want something to be neat, but it doesn't need to be showroom finish. If you want to, that's great. But me, I want to get out and fly. So all I'm going to do is get these guys and get them out of their packaging. Wouldn't it be funny if Impulse sent me a kit and they missed out on an important item, or they missed out on bolts or something like that? This is where they're probably going to be sweating to see whether they got it right or not. Time will tell. So those guys, they're done, and what I will do is I will get the forearms out as well. Some people like to get stuff out as they require it. I'm just like, let's just chuck it all on the ground. That's enough for me. I hope it's coming through okay, guys, and not too laggy. I know my internet connection kind of sucks, but it's the best I can do. What can I say? So we've got our little fastener set here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this off to one side, and a lot of this stuff I'm not going to be using, like I said, because I'm going to be switching out for some of the alloy stuff, and I'll show you where all that sort of stuff is switched out later on. So what I will do, hey guys, what I will do is I'll show you the way that Impulse recommends that you do everything up. So just got to find it in here. It's in here somewhere. So we've got we've got 3 washers. So you've got these 2 guys here. One is just a flat washer, and one is a cap head. Like I think it's a 6 mil bolt. These guys only purpose is to they're for broaching the nuts. That's what it's called. So you get this top plate where the press nuts go in there, and put a press nut in, and there is no top and bottom to this plate. It doesn't really matter, you can go either way. So if you're building this kit and you wonder what these 2 items are for, or someone's screwed up or whatever, they actually have a purpose. You can just completely bypass this and do it another way, which I will show you guys how I do it, but this is just to show you what these are for. So all you're doing in here is you put your press nut on one side, and you've got your broaching bolt and washer, and that is purely so that now you can tighten this up and stretch that into sort of positions like so. And the reason why they put that in there is some of you guys that are super careful about not damaging your carbon. The washer, so long as you have the smooth side facing there, means that there's no damage to the carbon. There's no wear marks from moving bolts and that sort of stuff. So you guys that are super keen about that, it's a really clean way of doing that. Me, I don't really care, because the only scratch that happens is underneath the bolt head, and like I said, the next thing I'm going to be doing is flying this towards trees at high speed, so I'm not worried about that. So what I like to do is I will get what I like to do is get the bottom plate, put the bolt through, and then put the arm on. And of course the arm can go, like, if it won't go on if it's backwards, because the holes won't line up. So if you've got the arm on the wrong way and line up the two holes, the arm sort of goes off to one side, whereas if it's the right way and line up the bolt holes, it looks a lot better. So there's only one way that we can, I'll bring this up a little bit. There's only one way that you can put it in there right. So if it doesn't fit, then you know that's why. So what I like to do, rather than using all that broaching nut thing that Impulse supplies, is I just lay everything through there so you've got everything like so, and then grab a press nut and screw it on so that it's basically in place. And then tighten it up through there, like so. So you may get wearing marks underneath this bolt head underneath there, but like I said, I don't really care that much. So let's get some bolts going. So if you're going to be using the steel hardware, there's two length arm bolts. The shorter ones go out on the outside and the longer ones go on the inside. For doing this, because the steel does work a little bit better, I'm going to use steel and then replace it with alloy afterwards, because the alloy is not as stiff. So what I like to do, I did the first one just to show you guys, but I like to put all of these guys in loosely and then just do them all up together. Don't know what the temperature is like for you guys around the world. I know it's winter over in America, but I tell you, it is summer here. Oh, and look at me, I've gone and put the arm the wrong way around. It is summer here and it's pretty hot. It's probably somewhere in the order of 110 degrees Fahrenheit where I am right now. As a matter of fact, I am actually even going to turn the fan on because it's damn hot. Come on, I got sweaty hands now. Okay, try and do this quickly. Less talking, less looking at the screen, seeing what people are saying, and more getting down to action. Yeah, so I don't actually, I keep on saying this, I've done a build video for Impulse as well. I don't know the exact sizes of all these guys. I'd have to sit down there and look at them, but you've got two lengths of long bolts, and the shorter of the two go on the outside of the arm, and the longer of the two go on the inside of the arm. That's because there's nothing else connecting through things on the outside, so it just needs to be flush. Whereas on the inside, you have to mount the soft mount standoffs. Jeez, it looks like it's cold in some of those places. Don't envy you guys. Okay. Okay, so now that I've got all these guys put in, roughly they're all just finger tight. Now I'm going to go through and just tighten these guys up one at a time. So like I said, you've got the impulse way of doing it, and that's what those, well, that's better. Sweaty hands. Got the impulse way of doing it, and that's why those broaching nuts are included. But I just like to tighten them up from the other side. It works really well for me. If you're using alloy screws, sorry, alloy bolts, not screws. If you're using alloy bolts, then there is the possibility that like they're not as stiff as the steel stuff, so it might not be as easy, so you might need to use the broaching nut in that situation. All I'm doing is I'm just using the steel bolts, and I'm going to replace them with the alloy ones when I am done. You'll see a lot of things in this build that I do purely because I'm just a little bit lazy. There's a lot of guys out there that do some amazingly clean looking builds, and I'm quite speechless on the work that they put into some of these guys. But yeah, I can't put that kind of effort in something that I'm just going to go and smash into a tree on the next flight, so I prefer to keep it a bit more practical. Okay. Can't believe how sweaty I am, but hey, it's a hot day here. Okay, so now I've got these guys all tightened up and snugged in, and you can see that these press nuts are all sitting flush with the top there. All I'm going to do, and this is a non-standard thing, when the alloy kit comes out, this will be more in line with that. Just going to remove these guys, since I just use these guys to tighten it all up. And replace the relevant hardware with alloy. So the 4 outer bolts are still steel because that's a high impact area, but the inner 4 at the moment, at least, alloy. I haven't had a problem with that. So I'm guessing, what is it? It's like about 7 p.m. in LA and like 9 or 10 p.m. in like on the west coast over in America. What time is it around like the rest of the world? I lose track of all these time zones on this stuff. It's hard keeping track. Mindless asked the question, can you speak on why you went away from Squished X? This is still Squished X, Mindless. It's still a Squished X quad. It's not a symmetrical or true X quad. The dimensions change slightly. I can talk about it, but I'll concentrate on getting this build done first. Maybe I can talk about it afterwards. So that is all done. So next, what should we do next? Let's get the PDB. Let's prepare that. Helping hands. Always love the helping hands. Okay, where are we? So for any of you guys that don't have one of these, TS100 from Banggood. Like, seriously, the best soldering iron I've ever used. I don't even bother pulling out my regular soldering station anymore. This thing just fucking rocks. So I am just soldering up one side of the power rail for going to be on the right hand side for where the XT60 is going to exit. Reason doing that is the KISS fly controller has all those connectors on the left hand side, and it all just gets a little bit too cramped. So I don't want to make life harder than it needs to be. And just tinning the pads at the back of the PDB because I think that's where the tramp is going to go. Okay. Right. Now that that is all tinned, let's get this sucker taped down. I'm actually really impressed with how well this thing stays taped. When we first started doing this, my main concern was that over time this might lift off or something like that in crashes and all that sort of stuff. But if you use good quality tape, at first I tried using some thicker foam tape so it gave some movement, and that worked quite well. And then we started trying this. We got some tape that's supplied with the PDB, and it is actually quite impressive at how well it sticks. I don't even know what kind of product it is that Impulse has with it. I'm going to have to ask them because they actually found that particular product for me and it works extremely well. So, push that down. And that is all done and ready to go. So, the only soldering that we're going to need to do on the KISS is the power, ground, signal and telemetry for the X4R. I know that Flyduino is working on the same sort of thing as what is in Betaflight, where I can't remember what protocol it is, where the telemetry goes through the signal wire as well. But I don't have that working just yet, so for the time being we're going to be soldering just to that. And now I need to find, where is it? Where did I put it? There we go. I need my old man glasses because I've got to remember which wire is which on this. Ground 5 volt over there. Cool, we got that. I always like to second guess myself on that kind of thing because that is the kind of stuff that can screw you over later on. It's the old adage that, like they say when you're building something, measure twice, cut once, because you can cut something shorter but you can't cut it longer. Actually, what we will do, I'm going to go up from the ground I'm sure this is bad technique somewhere, according to someone, but I don't care. So the cool thing about the KISS SCV2 is that the wires used for the receiver connection do have through holes, so all you guys that like the through hole stuff, there you go. Come on. I always have a bad shake whenever I solder, so I have to rest myself somewhere to ensure that the quality of the solder is better. I don't know if you guys have steady hands or not, but for me, not so great. But hey, I mean, I managed to get away with it, so one can't complain there. We'll just add our telemetry wire. That's on its own little separate pad on the top there. Cool, and that is soldering done for the flight controller. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a look-see. So on the top there, you can see the, it doesn't focus very well. On the top there is the telemetry wire, and then underneath through the through holes you've got, it's a bit hard to see, but you've got the ground, 5 volt and signal. So your 4 wires all done. Are you guys bitching about motors? I'm not really watching what you guys are talking about. So that's done. Right, so if we're going to be starting to mount things, let's put on the soft mounts. So these little soft mounts are pretty cool. It was something that I just sort of randomly picked up. So they're your rubber soft mount, but they're not big and wide like the Maytech, and they're a little bit stiffer than the Maytech. I actually didn't like the Maytech ones. I found that they actually caused more problems than they fixed, and these were a welcome change for me. So that's your 4 standoffs there. And I guess before we get too much electronics on there, let's put the motors on. So of course motors, I haven't soldered any of the reverse direction because I can change that in the GUI itself. And let me find some tweezers. Right, let's haven't prepped these wires on these motors yet, unfortunately. It's looking pretty good. So all I'm going to do now is just solder these guys on. And then solder our wires on. So I don't believe it's there yet. It's all the racing around doing crazy things, but by the time you guys get around to building these guys, there will be a diagram on the Impulse RC website showing what pad is what on here. Because it's all quite small, there's no numbers or letters on there or anything like that. But if you're using KISS, and it doesn't really matter because it just lines up, you just line up each of the pads corresponding to the pads on the KISS ESC. So, and if you know your way around a multimeter, you can work it all out exactly what it is anyway. But yeah, there will be a diagram there to help you guys out, because I don't like making things hard just for the sake of making it hard. That's just stupid. Okay. How we going there, guys? Are we still hanging in there? You haven't all disappeared from boredom? I wish I could chat some more, but I'm sort of trying to concentrate on doing this build and not totally stuffing it up. I can chat some more when I'm done. How does that sound? Is that a good deal? For those saying quality of the feed's bad, I can only apologise. My internet sucks. Not much I can do about it. Some people are having better luck than others, so yeah. Do apologise, but like I said, nothing I can do about it. Welcome to Australian internet. Fuck you, Liberal government. It's interesting because some of you guys are not having a problem with the internet connection, and some of you guys are. So, yeah, technology. Complicated stuff. This is where I just better hope that all my wire lengths are perfect. Otherwise I'll be the fool redoing things. There I go with my shaky hands again. I don't know what it is. Just when I go to do this real finite stuff, I get shaky hands. Still seems to work fine. Just, yeah. I can still do a half decent solder. I'm no professional, but I mean, I'm certainly not one to have a problem with the long-term usability of my soldering work. So the main thing about soldering comes down to planning everything and prepping it all, and the actual solder work is very minimalistic. So planning what you're doing, prepping all the surfaces, and then planning once again. If you're someone like me that shakes a lot, having everything lined up so that you've got support on your hands and you're not trying to freehand something from a long way away. I'm going to redo some of these guys because they look pretty damn terrible. Don't laugh at me, I've never soldered before. There we go, they look better. That one looks pretty good. Okay, so that is the 4 motors soldered on. What I will do is I will go ahead and put some bolts through. So then we come to this full-on topic discussion that people like to have, is of 1 or 2 bolts per motor. This is where you guys get all crazy and you argue and no one's happy and everyone tells everyone else that they're wrong, all that sort of stuff. I'll let you guys do all that sort of stuff, but I'll just tell you what I do. I use 2 bolts per motor, and I use alloy bolts, and the reason is actually really simple. First of all, because I'm lazy. Second of all, because it works for me. So, have I sheared off motors doing this? Yeah, I have. But every single motor that I've sheared off has been so fucked that even if it didn't shear off, the motor would be dead, and I might have also had a broken arm or something like that. That said, I've maybe 3 or 4 motors I've sheared off and destroyed, which I think is a pretty low number considering the amount of flying that I've done over the years. But look, it works for me. So if you want to use 4, or if you want to use steel instead of alloy, or whatever your favorite flavor is, I say go for it, and be happy that your way is best. How much do my batteries weigh? Depends on the battery that I'm using. I'm using the Dynergy graphene batteries, the grey ones. Reason why I'm using them is because batteries are very hard to find in Australia. So unlike when I'm in America, in Australia you kind of got to get what is available to you, and just not be picky. Actually, I'm pretty happy with them. I would happily continue with them. They're a nice battery and they last for quite a long time. They weigh 150 grams odd, give or take a gram. Hope that answers your question. Right. So that's that guy all done in that term. So we've got everything soldered up on there. We've got our motors and ESCs and all put on there. And I have just realized one thing that I've completely forgotten, which I will do now, and now that it's harder, is I've got these little foam strips like that. They're just really thin foam strips, and these guys are going to live underneath the ESCs, like so. And they're just going to give a little bit of protection from the carbon fiber. Doesn't really need shorting protection because I've already got the heat shrink there, but this just gives it a little bit more and just gives it that little bit of sort of what's the word? I'm sure you guys can come up with the word for me. It's not sitting on there hard, so it's giving a little bit of softness to it. And I've been doing this with various types of foam now for quite a while. This mount method works quite well for me. I've never had a reason, apart from, like I've said in the past, apart from the odd ESC getting struck by a prop, which is kind of normal. I haven't really had a problem, but ever since I've started epoxying the really fragile things on the top of the ESC, that has not been a problem either. So a nice solid mounting system for me, and one more to go. This is good. I was expecting this to be a pain to put in. So yeah, in case you don't know what this is, just like a thin foam with a sticky back that I'm putting on there. And I'm sticking this to the arms, not the ESCs, and it's not double-sided tape either, so it doesn't stick to both. And I will show you why in a second. Okay, so that's all done, and if we look underneath, you'll see there is that little bit of foam underneath there that rests on. So since we've got that, we may as well finish off the mounting. And the mounting for this is something that I've always done for a very long time. Like I said, everything else works extremely well for me. All I do is I just get some black electrical tape. If you're a guy that loves colors, then go for a different color. I just want something that works. And I just put start the tape like so. Over the top of the FET. So I don't put it over the whole ESC because I like to be able to see the LED, and then just wrap one side around and then just give it like 2 or 3 wraps. Waka, waka, waka. There's a number like the crappier quality electrical tape. You're going to need more wraps. The better quality stuff, you won't. So that's wrapped underneath and over the top. Now, the reason why I do that is because if I hit this now on either side and it whacks the ESC, because it's not physically tied down to this, when it hits, the electrical tape either breaks or stretches and the ESC moves out of the way. So that's why it doesn't matter if you've got an arm where the ESC is a little bit wider, it's not going to get damaged when you hit something because it gets pushed out of the way very, very easily. And it's a nice, lightweight, elegant mounting solution in my humble opinion. Sharpoo tape, exactly. Hit it on nail on the head. And yes, I saw another comment about crappy internet and blah blah blah. I will say it one more time and then I'll get you guys to, you guys can reply for me so that I don't have to bother anymore. Yes, I have crappy internet and I'm sorry, but there's not much I can do about it. That's just the way internet is in my country. Because my political party that's in power right now are a bunch of buffoons. Right, so I will quickly finish off these last couple of arms. Anyway, I hope this live feed is watchable for you guys and the internet connection isn't that bad. I'm sure the finished version will be better without the lagging and that sort of stuff. But for all you guys that are watching live, yeah, hope it's working out for you. I do intend to do a proper build video like this that's all edited down as well, but I was building this and I needed to build this anyway, so I figured, well, hey, may as well bring you guys along for the ride. Sean Harrison, thanks for that. I appreciate that. If I can help teach someone something new, or even better, if I can learn from someone on there, you guys have got a good build technique that I could put on board, then I am happy. But it is true, if the internet is that bad that you can't even watch it, then no one's going to learn nothing. That is the last arm done. Okay, so that's all the pointy bits done. Let's get sorted on what should we do? All right. Let's. This is a standard pigtail that comes with the tramp, and it's got a what's the name of the connector? Damn it, I'm having a bad time remembering this. It comes with a little connector on there. I just cut the connector off and then solder directly to the PDB. For that, I will need to turn my soldering iron back on. Silly boy. In case you guys missed it, this is a TS100 from Banggood. You can buy it from Banggood. You can also buy it from a lot of the online FPV stores. If you haven't got one of these, seriously get one. I don't know how I can live without this guy. It'll run 3 to 6S. I normally run on 4S purely because I got 4S batteries around. If you run this thing on 6S, it's a freaking machine. It's just scary. Like 7 seconds to get up to 400 degrees Celsius. That's like 6 billion degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's that guy. Put on there. That might actually be all of the that might actually be all of the soldering done. And no, actually, what am I talking about? Hang on. Slow down, Captain. Stop being a dickhead. Ain't going to be powering up nothing without putting the XT60 on there, so we may as well put that on there now. So this is really just a simple case of lining up the two pads. And soldering away. Going to need a little bit more solder for that one. Okay, now I think I can unplug. So we've now got everything connected, and here is our wire going out through there. And while I've got that there, what I'm going to be doing is installing some strain relief. Now just let me get a zip tie. Let's talk about zip ties, guys. Don't buy crappy zip ties. Buy good quality zip ties. If you buy good quality zip ties, they don't break. The crappy, cheap Chinese stuff, it's just, you know, you can buy them from auto stores and sort of stuff. The really good quality, higher cost ones, if you put a cheap, shitty zip tie in here, it'll probably break. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some strain relief. So if you notice, you can see, where is it? Right there. There's a little bit of a slip there. There's a slit over the other side there, and that's specifically for these two wire mounting pads. And all I need to do now is slide that through. You don't need to do this either, but I would highly recommend it. Because strain relief is a very important thing to have for electronics. And we will tighten this up. And if you have a look now, you'll see that we now have strain relief on the XT60 wire. So the only way that this is going to get any force is if this is pulled this way, and the pads are strong enough not to be affected. But if you go to pull vertically, it's all of the strain is going on the zip tie rather than on the pads. So you don't need through holes to ensure that it doesn't pull itself out. I'll just cut the tail off there, and that guy is ready to go. So there we go. Really, really simple, practical way for strain relief. Right, next let's get this guy in here. So we're just going to put the flight controller on the standoffs, make sure all the wires are going the right way. The receiver wires are going to go underneath. So I don't know if you guys can, how well you can see that on there like so. And then I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. This is the only double-sided tape I have. It's this sort of like clear silicone stuff, but it seems to work really well. And I am not going to complain. I'm just going to use it if it works really well. So that'll go on the back of the receiver, and just pull the backing off. One thing I didn't do, I don't have it handy, and I'm not going to go and find it because otherwise I'll just be wasting your guys' time. I would recommend that you guys get some isopropyl alcohol, and if you're going to be putting double-sided tape onto something that's been heat shrunk, rub it down with isopropyl alcohol, or both sides, even down on the carbon fiber pad, and you'll find that it will stick permanently. Where if you don't do that, you can have problems with it not sticking permanently, which can be a real pain. So there we go, that's all done on that side of things. What I will do now is I will connect up the flight controller with the PDB. Of course, when you get the PDB, you get these two wires here. Pick, so this wire here is for KISS, and this wire here is for any other board, so you can hardwire all of those to the various pads on your flight controller, and then you've still got a way of disconnecting this, including power and so forth, if you do need to take it off your quad. But since I'm using KISS, I'm going to be using that. Now take this off a little bit and put it through. So on the KISS, and it doesn't matter whether you're using V1 or V2, you've got two plugs, two serial plugs on the bottom here, which you plug everything into. Now you need to be careful that you put the plugs in the right order. On this there is so the top is the back. You can see that on the back here you've got a lot more wires. You've got 5 wires coming out of that connector, and you've got 2 wires coming out of that connector. So the wires with the wires that come where there's only 2 wires coming on the connector, they go at the front, and the 5-wire connector goes on the back. Just make sure you remember that. Now, if I've got that wrong, please guys go, oh no, you got it the wrong way around. I'm always worried that I'm going to do that, but you got to make sure the order is correct there. So now that is, you can see that the connector is in there. There's the connector there. Well, yeah, connector's there, and then connecting on the side there. So that's all ready to go. It is completely soldered up. Move all this over to one side, because I'm pretty damn sure we don't need any more soldering now, unless I've completely forgotten about something. So that's all sorted. What we'll do next is we will attach the plates to the camera. So I've got this, this is a Runcam Eagle, and I've got that's the optional back plate that's on there. But the good thing about these plates is this will accept anything that has either this optional back plate or the 3 bolt hole pattern. So let's bring this around. You can see the middle hole goes in the pivoting point, and if you're using the 3 bolt hole pattern, the bottom part goes on there, and that tilts like so. And if you're using the optional back plate that Runcam use, you actually use this part back here, and it slides there. So the only difference really between the two is there's because the distance between the pivoting points is a little bit more at the back, you've got a little bit more resolution there when you're moving it, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that'll take either or. Take your pick. They all fit. I'm going to use the optional back plate because that's just my preference, but both will work. And that was one of my big goals when redesigning this camera plate. I literally wanted something where you could fit pretty much any of the standard size cameras in there. And because I was kind of annoyed with a lot of the frames out there, and to the extent the Alien was very similar, that you're kind of locked into one type or one brand. Now you can't make something compatible with absolutely everything, but you can certainly bring the choice for the pilot, improve it. That's what I'm trying to say. You can improve the choice for the pilot by not dictating what camera they can and can't use. Of course, there's the whole, do I want to use a standard camera or a micro camera, and we had to make that choice. But as far as standard cameras are concerned, you can freely choose whichever one you want. So not tightening these guys up too much, just so that they won't go anywhere. And we have a look here. That's how we're adjusting it. So that's, from memory, that's 15 to 50 degrees camera tilt. So a nice wide range. Now that we've got that ready, let's start putting some standoffs in. So standoffs, you got three sizes. So you got the 30mm, you've got the 24mm, I think it is, and these little short buggers, which I think are like about 12mm or something like that. So you got three 30mm. The 30mm dudes go in the front, and I am going to use alloy here, of course. So if it looks all colored and fantastic, that is why. So yeah, the alloy package will be coming out soon enough, guys. We just wanted to get this frame out for before Christmas, because that was our aim. And there's a lot of work involved in doing that, so I'm sure you can appreciate that. So I would say sometime early next year, like January-ish. January? I'm hoping around January we'll have we will have the alloy package available. So I'm not going to go super tight, but I'm going to go tight enough so it's not going to go anywhere. And this is these standoffs are those sort of hex-shaped standoffs. What I like to do is have a flat at the front, because when you got a flat at the front, you'll have a flat at the back. And these little K-brackets sit nice and closely to those standoffs. So if you've got it nice and flat and flush, then it makes life a lot easier for you. What I will do before I put that camera in is I will plug in the cable. And good thing about a lot of these VTXs that come out now, and this is the Tramp, and the case for the Tramp is they come with the correct connectors on them, so you don't need to hack another connector on there and so forth, which is really handy to have. And while I'm thinking about it as well, let's put these nuts on. So the nuts for the flow controller that are provided are the nylon nuts. So in the alien kit had previously the alloy nuts. They were, number one, they were expensive. Anything that's alloy and good quality is stupidly expensive, and then you start adding a nylock to things and the price goes up dramatically. So that was one reason to change. The other reason to change is you don't need a nylock on there. Just a nylon nut is perfectly fine. It's also lighter. Like I said, it's also cheaper. So it just makes sense. Where is it? It's one extra tool. I'll find my little driver to tighten these guys up. Wow, we're still at 120 viewers. You guys are hardcore. Sticking around for the long haul. I'm impressed, guys. Okay, so we've got all that. And back again, guys. Sorry, the stream totally cut out on me. Next up, I'm going to steal some from this frame over here because I don't have a lot handy. Some of these small alloy bolts that I'm using in the test kit. So please excuse me, like I said, if I'm using a different bolt to what comes in the kit. Here we go. So second in from the back, that's where these little, I don't know what they're like, 10-15 mil ultra short standoffs. Only need to be finger tight. And then right down the back, that's where we put these. I think they're technically 24.5. That's Sean at Impulse RC. He has to have everything absolutely perfect. 24mm or 25mm will work just fine. And of course these short standoffs that are second from the back, the ultra short ones, they're used if you're going to be using the antenna mounts that come with this kit. Of course you don't have to use those antenna mounts, so there's two more of these 24mm, 24.5mm standoffs that are supplied. So if you don't want to use that, for example, if say you're using a Crossfire or whatever type of transmitter setup that these antenna mounts are not practical for, then you want, like for example, using the Immortal T antenna, you don't have to have that in there. You can just bypass all that. So that goes over to one side. Oh, and now while I'm looking at the cone washers too, guys, so we've got these little cone washers which go on the bottom here, and that's a little thing that comes with the kit. So each one of these arm bolts here gets a cone washer on there. I tried them a long time ago and they just didn't do anything for me, so I just leave them out because it's just one thing that I don't need. I don't like putting extra stuff on the kit, but if you feel that you need that, then please go ahead and put it on there. There is a cone washer behind the back of the GoPro mount, which does need to go on there, and I'll explain that a little bit there. But underneath, I personally don't use them. If you want to use them, go right ahead. Right, so that is all sorted on that end. That's the bottom end. Let's go make our way to the VTX top plate, antenna mounts, and this is our little battery pad. So battery pad, just pull those little inserts out there that haven't been pulled out, and take the backing off it. Where you go. Ah, crap, I dropped it. And just place this over the top. I do have to say, I reckon the shape of this battery pad is fucking wicked. I don't know, it's one of those things that happened, and when Sean designed it, because we made the top plate and then he had to make a battery pad to fit. I was just like, damn, it's like some sort of like spiritual sort of like, I don't know, sort of God symbol or something. You have to use that in something, I don't know what. Rightio, so next we come to the VTX. So all this is a Tramp HV with a little stubby Spironet on it. And all I've done is I've already attached the Spironet to the SMA connector, done it up nice and tight, and I've heat shrink the SMA connection because of course this is a ground, and if you connect this up to here you can ground out the frame, and then there's a possibility that you could short something out if something else goes wrong. So that's why I do that. It's not going to kill you if you don't, but it's good practice to do that. Now the way that this is going to go on here is, I'll just get this into place. It's basically like so. Where are we? Let me get this in a way that you guys can see. So down here is where the middle standoff goes, so it goes just behind that, and this is going to be double-sided taped to the top plate, and then the antenna is going to be zip tied with two small zip ties on the back deck. So I'll start off with the zip tie. It's also what I like to do with the pigtail here on here. You can see that this is just basically just turned around. I've just done a little 360 and a little loop around there. That's all I do to that, and that brings the length of the Tramp antenna to be pretty much spot on with what I'm trying to achieve here. So I mean, if you've got something else, Unify or something like that, then I'm sure you can mount the pigtail around so that it goes to suit. But yeah, I just gave you an idea of how I do it with the Tramp there, and that works quite well. So all I do now is Put the zip tie through there. Whenever I put zip ties on there, I always go to do it the most hard way and afterwards realize, wow, you could have just done it this way. You didn't need 5 hands to hold that down. This is actually a much simpler way of doing it. So, doesn't need to be super tight for the moment, just so that it's holding in place, and I'll show you guys before I tighten it all up what it looks like. Where are we? You can see, so there's a zip tie that goes through this section here and a zip tie goes through there. So if you want, you can put some more zip ties on there, but 2 of these small zip ties, good quality zip ties, are more than enough for me. How about I tilt this up a little bit? I don't need any more and it works just perfectly. So I will let you make your own mind up as to whether or not that suits you as well. But that works fine for me. So all I'm going to do now is just tighten these guys up. Now she's nice and tight. Cut off the tails. Done. Now we need to double-side tape on the tramp. And I would normally use a reasonably thick foam tape, but since I don't have that, I will just... Good thing about this kind of stuff is if you don't have a really thick foam tape, you've only got a thin one, just double it up or triple it up. Keep on going, keep on layering it up until you get to the thickness you want. Just remember to take the backing off each layer. I think I'm going to need 3 layers to make this work. Once again, apologies if I'm ignoring you guys on the chat here. If I just chat constantly, then we will never get the job done. I can chat a little bit more once I am done. Okay, so that's 3 layers thick, and that looks like it's going to fit nicely. And I will just cut this down to size. Nice. Okay. Right, so that is double-sided tape down there. So this the VTX just floats. It's not hard mounted in any way. It just floats. There is good strain relief with that loop for the pigtail that goes around. Good strain relief, and this is hard mounted here and not going anywhere. And plus, if you reverse into something, all of a sudden that just does that, and so you're not going to smash your antenna. So works extremely well. And yeah, that is pretty much done. So all I need to do now is just connect up the little plug there on the other side. And what I will also do is I will put this on, but I'll show you where I'm going to put this in a second. There you go on there, guys. It's not dragging on too much for you. I'm sure if it's dragging on too much, you guys will probably disappear anyway. But that's okay. You're allowed to. Right, so let's move on over to the GoPro mount. GoPro mount is really simple, but the way I like to prepare it is you'll get there's slightly longer bolts that go through these guys here, and these are the bolts that I'm using for this build. Like I keep on saying, I'm using the alloy kit, so these bolts are not going to correspond with the basic kit, but that's what I'm using, so sorry. Just going to put these through here. So it's a tight fit for these bolts, and I've already forgotten one thing. Stupid me. Tight fit, so I like to just put them in this. But there's two more little washers. These little washers here. Put these guys over the bolt. And what these guys do, these two little washers, is they help to spread the load and just give the bolt a bit more purchase on the front there to stop it from pulling through. What did I do with it? I dropped it. Here it is. Stop it from pulling through in a bad crash. That said, I haven't had any of the ones pull through on the front, but you can never really be too careful. Now on the back, what you will need to use is one of these cone washers. So the cone washer just sits like so on the back. Don't know how well you can see that, because this is black as well. And the bolt just goes through from the top here. Actually, what I'll do, done. So you'll see that there's the cone washer on the back there, and on the front you've got those two bolts with those little flathead washers. So flathead washers probably optional. I haven't had a problem with that, but if you don't put the cone washer on the back there with that mount, that may pull through in a really bad crash. I think we're getting awfully close to having everything finished. So next is the antenna mounts. So we'll get these two antenna mounts out, and these are those guys there. Don't know how well you can see them. Only thing to remember with these guys is there is a left and there is a right. If you get them the wrong way around, the antenna will be facing forward rather than backwards. Hey, if you want to have the antenna facing forwards, that's totally up to you. But all you need to do is push the antenna. There's a little 45-degree path where this goes through. When you have a look at it, it becomes kind of obvious after a quick little look. That's what I do need to do. I need to steal these bolts from over this side, because I don't have very many of these bolts to test with. So apologies for taking so long here, guys. Oh, drop it! Drop it like it's hot. Anyway, thanks for keeping me company, guys, for the build. I do appreciate it. Normally I do these builds at midnight all by myself and so forth and blah blah blah. Anyway, got these little bolts. Once again, they're alloy bolts, so they're going to look a bit different to the steel kit. And all you need to do is get this. Once you've put you got to put the antenna through first, because when you put the antenna through it like this, it just slides through and you can press fit it to wherever you want. Then when you put the bolt through there, the bolt actually turns it into an interference fit. So set it up the way that you want, and then just slide this underneath, push the bolt through, and just turn it once or twice to lock it into place. Same on the other side. And then you have these guys, they're kind of locked in place, but they're sort of swinging around, but they're not going to go anywhere. And they just, for me, they just live on the top plate like so. Right, so finally let's put this guy together, and I'll put the down a little bit. One thing I will install before we go too much further, and that is the little UFL, the little tag for the wand. What I like to do, the best place I've found it is to just put it on the side of these the K brackets here. There's plenty of places to put it, but that's the most practical spot for me, where it's least likely to get hit and so forth. Of course, if you've got an OSD, or you can use the Tyrannus to change channels. If that's what you prefer, then you can go that way as well. So I will just install this little guy and show you how I mounted it. There we go. So, where are we? That's just installed there, and then the wire just goes through on the inside underneath through that K bracket. So it just lives on the side there, very inconspicuous and not a problem at all. So let's finish putting this little guy together. What we'll do first off is we will connect up the power and connection wire for the tramp. She's all done there. And then we can feed through the antenna wires through the top plate. And one thing that I always catch myself on when I'm building these things is I'm really bad at squishing and like wires in between plates when I'm doing up bolts and so forth. I just don't look hard enough, and yeah, that can catch me out. I don't know if it catches you guys out, but I'm really bad at that. I've done that so many times before in the past that I've had to really teach myself to be on the lookout for it more than I normally would. So all I've got to do is just make sure that there's nothing getting in the way, getting squashed when I put this down, so that when I do put all the bolts on there, it's not going to affect anything in terms of blowing shit up and blah 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 blah, because we don't like bad smoke. Just double check there's nothing in the way. She's all looking good. Done, done, done. So now we can start putting some bolts in. What we'll start with, where are we? We'll start with our little antenna clamps. It's just a matter of lining up. There's some little tabs on the side there, which when everything's lined up, they sit beside the top plate. And then all you need to do is just bring this down, and eventually it'll start threading through the standoff below it, and it will all become one piece. And do on the other side as well. How's things going in the chat, guys? No stupid trolls in there? I can't say that I've really been taking any notice. Done, done, done. I need 2 more of these little bolts that I'm going to steal from over here. Once again, I keep on repeating it just in case people come in at the wrong time. I'm using the alloy kit. That should be out soon enough on this thing. So that's that guy down there, and then down the back here we put on this guy. So the back bolt just gets attached through the little access hole at the back of the mount. Tighten up that side as well. There we go. And these front ones, like so. Right, well, we are almost there. The last thing that we need to do is put the straps on. Should have done the straps actually before I put the top plate on so I could explain to you guys a little bit better. But the back strap is very, very simple. All you need to do is just push that underneath the VTX cable and out and around. So that goes like so. Now the front one, what I do, and it's what I've done for a while, and where, oh, there it is, and let's see if we can show you guys. So we've got the antenna, you can see the antenna pigtails coming up along here, and then you've got the VTX antenna, but this is where the standoff is. And behind, at the standoff and back is where the antenna is zip tied. But from a forward, you've only got the pigtail, and you can see that there's a gap. There you go, you can see the gap there. So that, I put the battery strap through that gap there, and it works perfectly without affecting any strain relief, without damaging anything in a crash, and is the perfect amount of room. This is an important part here to make everything work well together. So I'll just do this up and show you guys again. Where are we? So you can see the strap goes through there, but it's not going over the top of the pigtail or the VTX. It's actually going underneath it. So it's a nice soft fit, and it's not affecting the pigtail, anything, all that sort of stuff. And like I personally wouldn't put a strap around the pigtail or around the VTX, because now you're turning what was a soft mounted part into a hard mounted part, and you've got all the inertia of the battery. So if you have a crash, the battery tries to move things, and that's only going to affect something like a VTX, which has fragile components on there, and particularly you got a UFL connector on, all those kinds of things. I just wouldn't do it. Right, so let's move this out of the way. Don't know how long this has been. I said something along the lines of an hour. I don't know how much longer yeah, probably an hour and a half, something like that. It's about, and I was sitting there chatting away. But that's a Reverb build the way that I build it. Let me tip this up so it doesn't look like my head's cut off. And yeah, very, very simple. As you can see, the amount of soldering is extremely low, and not too much in the way of wires required. So that's how I do all of my builds, and I do intend to do a proper edited video, which will be cut down to maybe half an hour or something like that, so you don't have to watch all this time and me gas bag and lots of stuff. But for you guys that wanted to see, that's how you build it. So next thing is questions. First question, can I have the quad? No, I need that quad. That's like my only really proper flying quad. Do I live in Melbourne? No, I live in Brisbane. Why do your builds always look so much cleaner than mine? New builds always look clean. Size of the washers around the 3D print. At the front, they're just standard, your standard 3mm flat washer. I don't know the size of them. They're not bigger than the front. I couldn't tell you. I don't even actually have any way of measuring it handy with me, unfortunately. The back one is just a standard cone washer. If you look up cone washer for 3mm, you'll see some dimensions for it. What is the yellow fish in Australia that can kill you by touching you? Go and touch it and find out. Will Impulse sell the antenna mounts so we can add to the old Alien? I don't know if they're on the store as spares, but I would assume, yeah, sure. Why should you just have to buy a Reverb to get them? If you want to put them on any frame, doesn't have to even be an Alien, go for it. How do you spell wallaby? The way that you spelt it. You're going to fly a quad with all production parts, no prototypes. Yeah, that'd be really nice. This is actually first all production parts on a quad for a very long time, actually, which is kind of nice. How did I get into FPV? I saw a flight test video and I went, yeah, I got to get that. Settings and GUI of KISS V2. I'll get into that in another episode. I do need to do a full thing on that. This could take me another couple of hours to go through a lot of this sort of other stuff, but I just wanted to do a build for this. Sorry, I missed beginning. I'm guessing it's KISS SC, and I'm guessing if so, why that instead of BL Heli-S? All ESCs tend to work very similar these days. I personally just can't stand the whole climate of BL Heli and the BL Heli suite and all that sort of stuff. There's a number of small things that I prefer over KISS, but it's all minor. You'll get good performance out of like a BL Heli 32 ESC or a BL Heli S ESC as well. What's the weight of the build? Don't have a scale close by, but this would be somewhere in the order of, without props. Okay, with props and with a GoPro, probably 570, 580 or something like that. I'm not trying hard to get the weight down because I don't believe in this whole 5 grams is going to make a big difference. Nice quad, but I need a lightweight frame that's 55 to 75 grams. Well, get a race frame. If you want a stupidly light frame, get a race frame. A freestyle frame is not for you. Like I keep on saying, I don't like race frames because they have the battery on the bottom and you have props in shot at a low camera angle, and that's the whole reason why I fly that. How much does the GoPro mount weigh? I'm guessing here. I haven't weighed the latest version. 15 grams maybe, something like that. I could be wrong though, don't quote me. Do you have FPV groupies following you around yet? I have in the past. It's kind of strange. Looks like a much needed updating to a frame that has been immensely popular but has become dated. Well done. Thanks, man. Define dated though. It's still one of the most popular frames out there, so that says something about that. People like change for the sake of change, and I think this change for the sake of change is a stupid thing. What I've done is improve some things on there that I wanted improving, and went ahead with it. Some people agree, some people don't. When did you say the OSD PDB will be available? Very early next year. I'm hoping January. Does Australia have an Air Force Academy? Yes, it does. BL Holy 32 is shiznit. Well, cool. Happy that you like it. Turtle can be good or bad. Can break stuff. Yeah, well, I mean, if you can screw things up. I generally don't run turtle mode. The only reason why I would ever run turtle mode is if I was stuck in a tree. Do you miss the old days of FPV? Yes, and I'm personally getting back to it. That's why you don't see as much from me online, and I've removed myself from groups because I'm just sick and tired of the fighting and bullshit. I hang out with my mates and I go flying and I laugh a lot. And I think a lot of other people need to learn to do that too. Ever think of using a run cam split to save 70 grams of weight losing the GoPro session? Yes, I have. I don't do that because I hate the performance of the run cam split. I find it very finicky. The problem is then you have props in shot because there's no frame on the earth that's practically built that doesn't have props in shot, and the performance of the run cam split is not up to the performance of the GoPro, so I want good quality stuff. So yeah, if you don't really care about a lot of that stuff, it'll work great for you, but the run cam split is not for me. I have recorded version of this better. You can cut out. It happens there. Days FPV. I rather fly my Mr. Steel FPV than my Mr. Steel Alien. I'm happy for you, Days. I tell you what, Days. Get your fucking Mr. Steel Alien and go and fly. No one fucking cares. If I send you my Reverb, will you build it for me? Yeah, sure. But only if you come up, Paul. You've got to come up and visit me. I'm in high school, so I'm surrounded with bullshit and I hate it too. Finalised, just got the GoPro Fusion back today. When are we flying? I don't know, Jaden. We've got to get out there and fly and try it. How about the Foxia box? Seems a possibility. I still, out of all of these ones, I still prefer the GoPro Session because of the ProTune settings and what you are able to do. You can get good quality stuff, but if you know how to use a camera and know how to use the custom settings, then you'll prefer the GoPro Session every single day. What's your favourite props for 5-inch and 6-inch builds? My favourite prop for 5-inch is 5 by 4.3 by 3. 6-inch, I'm really liking the new HQ 6 by 3 by 3 V1S. That's been proving to be a nice prop. Buffering is making this stream just constant jump cuts. Yeah, sorry about that, buddy. Can't do anything about it. What if I just show up one day and have him build my quad? Yeah, you can do that. Will you be coming to the AU Drone Nationals again? Depends on where they are. If they're a long way away, it may not be practical for me to go, but I hope to. Session 6 is only going to be able to do 2.745 frames. I don't like the full. I prefer the session mounts, other things. I'm waiting for the Session 6 to see what that. I would love 240 frames at 1080p personally. That's what I would like in a session. What's my favorite FPV cam? I'm liking the Runcam Eagle 2, and I'm also testing out the Foxia Predator. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for the kind words. Well, I'm odd and I love freestyle, but I like to hit the track too, and a lightweight quads for power and acceleration. I'll get 22.7 motors, so 55 to 75 gram frame. Yeah, if that's the thing. There is no best frame out there. If a lightweight frame suits you, for me, if I want to do racing and freestyle, I have two completely different frames. That's the way that I set it up because I can't stand the props in shot. It just shits me off because I like to do cinematography type stuff. I like to do I do some commercial shoots, and these people don't want props in shot. It's just not something that I want. I got to Reverb frames. I need to pick motors. What do you put in this build? I was a little bit late. I put the Rotorite Hype Train motors in there. My favorite hobbies. FPV answer stuff used to be my favorite. I think the bitching and fighting has sort of brought it down on the list. It was never my favorite. Gliding was always my favorite. Getting up there beats the hell out of being on the ground and holding on a transmitter any day. Matthew Kelly, you're going to get in trouble with your wife. I apologize. Alright, see you later, Sean. Alright guys, I think I've kept you guys annoyed enough by answering stupid questions and lots of stuff. I really hope you guys enjoyed the build and, I don't know, learnt a bit or two or whatever, or just got to see how I put it together. Like I said, I do intend to be doing a proper edited video, but since I was building one anyway, I figured I'd go through that and show you guys how it was all done. So yeah, hope you guys liked that. I'm going to get out of here now and have a late lunch since it's 2:30 here now. But I'll talk to you guys later. Appreciate hanging out with you and keeping me company and chatting. So talk to you guys later. Till next time. See ya.